Hello, sixth graders. This is once again a video of me just going through the session one reading for this week. Um, just like last week, you don't have to listen to this. If you want to just read this on your own, you can do that. But remember, there is a Skyward assignment that goes along with this. So the whole idea here is for you to either be reading it or listening to this as you are answering the questions. That's what's going to make it easiest for you. So this reading is still talking about the moon, but now this week we're kind of focused on some interesting facts about the moon. So the title of this article is April's Super Pink Moon will be the brightest full moon of 2020. I want to start this off by saying that this April's pink moon is on, or was on, April 7th, so we missed it, unfortunately. But there is going to be some other stargazing opportunities that I will be asking you to look for a little bit later on this month. So here we go. Devoted stargazers and newcomers to the nighttime hobby can look forward to a lunar event. A super pink moon will rise into the night sky on April 7th. It will be the brightest supermoon of 2020. A supermoon occurs when a full moon happens on the same night the moon reaches perigee. Perigee is the closest point to Earth in its orbit. Apogee is the furthest point from Earth in its orbit. In April, the full moon peaks at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which would mean 9:35 our time. Eastern Daylight Time is the time for the East Coast of the United States. When it's 10 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast, it's 7 p.m. on the West Coast. The West Coast is on the Pacific Standard Time. This is because different parts of the world are in different time zones. I just want to pause right there for a second. So what this is saying is that this full moon that's happening on April 7th, or that happened on April 7th, because by the time you're watching this, that will have been last week. But it's called a super moon because the moon's orbit is actually not circular. So I have a couple, let me see if I can actually switch this quick. So I have a picture right here. Here is what the orbit does not look like. It is not a perfect circle like this. It is also not like this. This is like an oval shape. You might read some, I think there is some reading that you're going to do, or a video that you're going to watch this week, where they say that the orbit of the moon is like an egg-shaped. Here I made an illustration where you can see the orbit of the moon is very like oval-shaped like an egg. This is also not what the moon's orbit looks like. Here's a better example of what the orbit of the moon looks like. You can see it's almost a perfect circle, but there are points in the orbit where the moon is closest to the Earth. Right here, this would be perigee. This is where the moon is going to be when it is, or where the moon was when it was a full moon on April 7th. So right here, you can see that part of the orbit, it does get closer to the Earth slightly. And then over here, apogee is where the moon would be the furthest from the Earth in its orbit around Earth. So just to give you an idea of kind of like what we're talking about here, why it is called a supermoon, it is because it is slightly closer to the Earth. All right, back to the article. So, color no different than normal. Though the moon is called a pink moon, its color won't be any different than normal. It will be golden orange when low in the sky. It will brighten to white as it rises. So again, it's not a different color. The moon, if you look out at the night sky, like right before it gets dark out, the moon does appear to be like an orangish color. That's really from the light rays of the sun kind of skimming over Earth. It makes the moon appear that color. But when it gets high in the sky, it's still going to be bright white. The name comes from pink wildflowers called creeping phlox, said Catherine Bachman at the Old Farmer's Almanac. The Almanac is a book that discusses the weather and phases of the moon. Phlox flowers bloom in early spring under April's full moon. So that's why it is called the pink moon. Those flowers are pink and they bloom in April. Supermoons appear about 7% bigger and 15% brighter than the average full moon. The difference between a supermoon and an average moon may not be obvious. The moon seems bigger because it follows an odd orbit around the Earth. Its orbit is not a perfect circle. Again, not a perfect circle, but it's close to one, but there are points in the orbit where the moon is closer or further from Earth. Farthest apogee. On March 24th, for example, Earth's lunar companion, the moon, reached its farthest apogee of 2020. It was about 252,707 miles away. On April 7th, the moon will be about 30,000 miles closer. It will be only 221,772 miles from Earth. That's only a few hundred miles further than the closest supermoon in recent history, which was in November of 2016. Supermoon isn't a scientific term for the astronomical event. That term is perigee syzygy. Rather, the term supermoon was introduced by Richard Noll in 1979. It didn't have much science behind it, Jackie Faraday told National Public Radio in 2016. Faraday is an astronomer. She works at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. Noll came up with a term for when the moon was full, when it was 90% of the closest distance it could be to Earth. And a couple of years ago, it just caught on, she said. I think it's just because someone took the word super and put it in front of the word moon. Different names bring different thoughts of spring. Other names for an April full moon include egg moon, fish moon, the sprouting grass moon. All of the names bring thoughts of early spring. The supermoon in 2020 is also a paschal full moon because of its closeness to Easter. This year, Easter is on April 12th. The first full moon of spring is usually known as the paschal full moon. Traditionally, Easter is observed on the Sunday after the paschal full moon. April will bring other moon and stargazing events. On April 3rd, Venus will be visible. The planet will be near a cluster of stars called the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters, and said Alan McRobert at Sky and Telescope. Also, the Lyrids meteor shower will peak on April 22nd and 23rd. NASA is the U.S. space agency. It says that a meteor is a space rock that enters Earth's atmosphere. As the meteor falls toward Earth, we see glowing hot air as the rock zips along. So that is the one event that we can still observe in the sky later on this month. Michelle Nichols works at Adler Planetarium in Chicago, Illinois. She told WBEZ Radio that people can easily stargaze near their home, even in a city. Both light and air pollution can affect how stars appear in the sky. Lately, however, air pollution has fallen. There are fewer cars on the road and fewer factories open. There's no one best spot to observe the sky, Nichols said. The best place to observe the sky is wherever you currently are. So you don't have to find that perfect location. It doesn't exist. There are some sites that are better than others, but truly get to know the sky where you are. All right, so again, hopefully you were answering the Skyward questions as I was reading that. If you needed to back this up at all, you could do that, but that's it for this.